Chicago Bulls #1 in the Eastern Conference. It is time for episode 60 of Gimme the Hot Sauce. It's a new year, but the same great show. Only we have upped the ante in terms of our guests. Coming up on episode 60, we are going to be joined by the king of the fourth, the #1 scorer in the NBA in fourth quarter. DeMar DeRozan will be our special guest. We can't wait to bring him in. Stacey is alongside our buddy Timmy Whispers. If you're watching on YouTube, you don't see that box of him with a puzzled look on his face. He's away on business, isn't he, Stacey?
Whispers.
Careless whispers, as Jason Benetti called him.
Yeah, well, he's out in Arizona, and he's out there working on his tan. He's going to come back looking like Larry the Lobster.
Yeah.
And, he's not going to be out here today, but he's got, Tim's out there doing business, trying to make some money, trying to get the bag.
Yeah.
And he'll be back next week.
Speaking of business, we want to welcome a brand new sponsor to Give Me the Hot Sauce, our good buddy Howard Ankin. If you watched Bulls games or any Chicago sports team on NBC Sports Chicago or on WGN back in the day, you've seen Howard Ankin. You've appeared alongside Howard with his spots.
Yeah, I did a commercial with Howard. So that was a lot of fun. Really, really good guy. I really enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, he's excited to be on part. He knows that this is a growing franchise, and you want to be on time. This is the fastest growing podcast in America.
Well,
right?
it's kind of like the Bulls right now. This is the time you want to buy season tickets while they're starting their ascent back to the top. So it's the same thing with the podcast. We're your favorite podcasters podcast. So and we're steadily growing. I mean, I'm biased a little bit, but I believe we got one of the best podcasts out there.
And Stacey, if you want, after you get done with our podcast, you can check him out on Zach Lowe's podcast. You're doing double duty this week.
Yes, I just got done shooting Zach Lowe's, podcast. It was a lot of fun. We were talking Bulls, all Bulls, and giving my opinion and my take.
Yeah.
Zach's one of the best in the business. He's
sure
appeared
is.
on our show.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to have him back at some point as the season gets along. But it's a lot of fun talking to guys who now, he admitted in his podcast that, he picked the Bulls to be either 6 and 8. He thought they'd be really good offensively, but he was concerned about the defense, which he had the right to be because the numbers don't lie individually with the players that the Bulls have. But he came out and said, hey, that was a mistake. They are a very good basketball team, and, they've got a shot to go deep in the playoffs. So it's good to see a guy of that stature who gives his hot takes on teams, admit that, hey, I was wrong. Some of these guys out now, who said the Bulls wouldn't make the playoffs, the Bulls would be the 12th seed, they'd be playing for a play-in game.
They're hiding in the bushes like Homer Simpson.
Well, like Homer Simpson. But there are some of those guys now who are coming out saying, oh, I knew the Bulls were going to be good. Right. And, I knew they were going to be a top 3 team. I'm not going to say any names. That voice is very familiar.
They know who they are, yeah.
Yeah, you know who they are. And if you follow me on Twitter, you can see where I put the link for what one of those guys said.
Yeah.
So, America, it's time to jump on the bandwagon.
Well, we told you about our good buddy Howard Ankin, and you know what he does. And chances are, if you live anywhere in Chicagoland, you've seen Howard. You might have seen him on a bus, a train, billboard, or TV commercial with a famous Chicago athlete like our good guy Stacey King alongside. Howard is everywhere. If you've been injured at work, in a car, truck, or rideshare accident, call Howard. He's a third-generation attorney from Chicago. His number, an easy one to remember, 312-6-million. That's our guy, Howard Ankin, 312-6-million.
$6 million.
That's like his bank account.
Oh, that's what he's going to try to. That's what he's going to get you if they win.
Absolutely.
I was walking into the Sriracha Studios today, and I slipped, and I said, "Man, if I'd have failed, I might have
Howard a call."
But then I thought about it. I'd be suing myself. Oh, cancel that one, baby. Cancel it. No, we're not going to sue. We're not going to sue the Sriracha Studios. We can't do it.
Yeah, we could put together a montage of all the famous athletes that Howard has been with over the years. I mean, we've seen him alongside Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, Bears, Bulls. He's done it all.
Yeah, again, his commercials, bring athletes to the forefront. And, again, just a really good guy. I've done a couple of things with Howard. So, the commercials are fun, real lighthearted, nothing too serious. And but he gets his point across of what he's doing. Just like, as the sports guy, what we do and how we do our business, his commercials always show what he does and how he can help you and help you in a time of need.
Yes, so if you've been injured, please give Howard a call, 312-6-million. Bulls keep rolling along. They'll go for 9 in a row against the Washington Wizards on Friday, and guys have been in and out of the lineup. You see 2 guys come out of protocols, another couple go in, or we've had guys that have had traditional basketball injuries. It's been amazing they've been able to overcome all these things and be the top team in the East right now.
Well, Mark, you go back and you look at, they're the #1 team that's had the most players miss this season as far as the NBA protocol is concerned, and they haven't missed a beat. And, some of their stats have changed since all these guys have been in and out of the lineup, because before COVID hit this team, they were a top 5-4 team defensively. And, having different guys in your lineup, guys coming up from D-League and guys coming up signing free agents who are, weren't playing at all, just sitting at home. Of course, numbers are going to dip a little bit. Now they're like a top 11 team. But once they get their regular roster, as you can see, they're starting to get healthy again. You can see the defense amp up. You're starting to see them get back to what they're doing. You need Lonzo Ball back. You need Alex Caruso back. Those two guys are huge in what the Bulls want to do defensively. With the way they're on-ball defense, their active hands, in the passing lane, getting steals. You definitely need those two guys back as the season gets into the second half.
We talked last week about your battle with COVID, and we've seen it really going through the entire league. Guys constantly going on protocols. Alex Caruso, the latest Bulls player to enter the protocols, and right now the only guys who haven't tested positive, Patrick Williams and Tyler Cook from their 17-man roster. And I guess if there's only one, bright side of that is they should be in good shape for the rest of the season now. Once we finally get out of this, they're going to build up those antibodies, and hopefully they won't have any more outbreaks as we head into the stretch run and the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's really one of the silver linings. And then that they're not as sick as like I was.
Oh yeah.
That's another thing. These guys, most of these guys are not even showing symptoms. They go into protocol because of the testing, and they come back and, but they could actually go back out and play. And you see now the NBA is shortening the protocol days that you're
6
in.
Days, yeah.
It's 6 days instead of 10. And most of these guys on every team has had no symptoms. So they've been the asymptomatic type of person, who don't show any symptoms. And, at the end of the day, I mean, look at society, everyone's getting this, unvaccinated, vaccinated people. The difference is that, hopefully if you're vaccinated, like I was, you get sick, but it doesn't kill you. And I was very lucky, and I tell people all the time, though, it's a personal choice. You do what's best for you and your family. But I would suggest, and I was reading something today where, people are taught, the problem with most of these people is that they don't like the government mandating this. That's the big problem with people who don't want to take the shot, is that they don't want to be told by the government what to do. But my question is, what's the difference between your doctor telling you, hey, you need to go get this shot because this could save your life, this will protect your family? They're not the government, but then you would see people twist that around a little bit and say, well, the doctors are working with the government. So there's a no-win situation either way.
Right.
But the bottom line is that you need to get vaccinated. You definitely need to get vaccinated. It's been proven. The numbers don't lie. There's more people dying that is unvaccinated than the people that are vaccinated. So, again, I'm not sitting here preaching, do this, do that, do that. I just know for myself and my family, we're all vaccinated. And if you'd have been as sick as I was for that, 2.5, almost 3 weeks, you would have a different perspective on the vaccination and being unvaccinated or vaccinated.
The NBA trade deadline coming up on February 10th, and I saw Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley were at the Windy City Bulls game last night. So they're scouring everywhere to make sure if they need a 10-day guy, maybe they can tap a guy from the G League. But an interesting move was made by the Milwaukee Bucks. They decided to let go of DeMarcus Cousins after he played pretty well for him. They wanted to have that roster flexibility. Could he be a potential fit as a backup big for the Bulls?
Listen, I mean, the Bulls are undersized. We know that. And this is a guy who was a former All-Star, one of the best players in the league before injuries set in. If you're not just the Bulls, any playoff team, if you're looking for a big that's serviceable, that can come in, and if your center gets into foul trouble or gets hurt, you can plug him in. And not only is he an inside scorer, but he can pick and pop, he can handle the ball, he can pass. I think the biggest question with Boogie Cousins is how much does he actually have left? But watching him in Milwaukee the couple times I saw him play, it looks like he has a lot left. I thought he really helped that team coming off the bench. I thought that, you didn't see the antics that you once saw. And I think he's matured. I think he understands that, the opportunities are starting to dry up based off of his personality in the past. I think he's a great teammate. I think he's a great guy. I just think he's misunderstood. And I think these last couple of stops that he's been at, Houston and then here in Milwaukee, I think you've seen the best as far as personality of, Boogie Cousins than what we saw, the guy getting the technicals, the guy who was very volatile. But he never was a bad teammate. You never heard of all the stuff that went on in Sacramento, you never heard anyone say that this kid was a bad teammate. He, cursed coaches out and didn't show up for practice. It was the little things like getting technicals that kind of overshadowed, his ability. And that's what people recognize him as, just blowing up, getting technicals, get thrown out the game. But he's still, I still think he's a very, very good player. It'll
be interesting to see what team jumps on DeMarcus Cousins, because he did show that he was in game shape. He looks good. He looks trim. He's ready to play. He's definitely going to get picked up by another team. We'll see if the Bulls show interest. Our special guest today is going to be the King of the Fourth, DeMar DeRozan, standing by here on Gimme the Hot Sauce. But before we bring him, we want to tell you about another great sponsor of our show. That is Jeff Vukovich and Nationwide Insurance. When it comes to insurance for your auto, home, and business, contact the King of Insurance, Nationwide agent Jeff Vukovich. You can find him at jeffvuk.com. That's jeffvuk.com. And Stacey, how are the Golden Pipes feeling today? You know, all right?
Much better. They're improving. So Nationwide is on your side.
Oh, that was good. That's good. Yeah. You got hung up the other day on that.
Hey, listen, Mark, you know what? See, listen, no one needs Yoko Ono right now. This is what broke up the Beatles right here. That one person in the background when there's harmony and everybody's doing great.
Right.
We're trying to move on from that. Okay.
All right.
The Golden Pipes last game, they kind of against Orlando. I wasn't ready.
You're still in recovery
and I was still in recovery. At the end, I kind of sound like Aaron Neville. Angels of the night. I was like, Nationwide is on your side. So I had a little Aaron Neville going, and I apologize to Bulls Nation. It will be better.
Well, contact our guy, Jeff Vukovich, for all your insurance needs at jeffvuk.com. DeMarvelous DeRozan standing by in the Sriracha waiting room. He's next on episode 60 of Gimme the Hot Sauce. We are back, episode 60 of Gimme the Hot Sauce. It is our pleasure to welcome in the King of the Fourth, DeMar DeRozan, leading the NBA in fourth quarter scoring, has brought such a wonderful change in the culture here in the Bulls locker room. DeMar, thank you so much for joining us on the show. I imagine this whole Chicago experience has been really cool for you. Everything's going so well.
Man, it's been a blessing. It's been everything I can imagine and more, honestly.
When you were looking at free agency this past summer, you had a lot of people, a lot of teams wanting your service. What made you choose the Bulls?
One, I was always a fan of Zach. And I always wondered, and always wondered why he was never in the spotlight, as he should have been. One, that pairing up with him was one thing, but I think it really all started with Vooch. I remember we played in San Antonio last year, and I remember talking to Vooch, and Vooch came up to me. Every time we seen each other for years, he always was making some type of reference about playing together. So he made a reference when in San Antonio, like, you're a free agent this summer. Let's figure this thing out. And I'm like, all right, call me. You know what I mean? So it started there. Then obviously my relationship with Mark kind of made it a lot easier. Then, I know one of my big concerns was a point guard. And as soon as I seen him make the move for Zoe, it just all came together and made sense. It's like one thing after another, and it just fit perfect.
Tell us about the chemistry on this group. It seems like you guys really genuinely like each other and you're having a lot of fun playing basketball. That winning breeds that, but sometimes guys don't click, and it seems like this is a really special group.
Yeah, it was that before anything, honestly. That's the crazy part. Like, everything was genuinely from a genuine place. Like, one, the respect was there as competitors for one another. And everything from there was just authentic. Like, and before we even play anything on the court, man, our conversations through text, on the phone, everything just felt real. So by the time, excuse me, by the time we stepped on the court, it was like, we had each other back. You would think we played with each other for years. And, you see it even in preseason when we went out there, we kind of was overdoing it at some plays, trying to, help out the next man and everything. But that was just us, and as soon as we just figured it out and got more comfortable with it, we at where we at now. But it's credit to the guys on the team. Before even being a basketball player, every guy on the team is great men, first and foremost.
So talk a little bit about what you knew about Billy Donovan before you came in, and then what has your perception now that you played for him? Because we all knew the perception that he's a player's coach, Yeah. So what was your thought process coming in? Of did you know Billy before? Or you just knew him as a coach, as the opposition, and now what's your opinion of Billy now that you're here and you're playing for him?
I always knew he was a great coach. I remember the teams he had there. That I remember when he first got his job in OKC, and I was always, me just being a fan of basketball, I always pay attention to the craziest stuff that go on in the league. And, I was just like, all right, let me see how this college coach do, especially being with, KD and Russ, the job he did there, and just being a fan, and just started to pay attention to everything. And I remember having a conversation with Paul George, this after he had left OKC, and he was saying playing for Billy, he had his career year. Remember, that was the year PG had one of his best years.
Yep.
He was like, man, and he raved how much he loved him. The same with Russ. Russ told me the same thing. This way before I was thought about going to play for the Bulls or anything. I was just asking guys like, man, how is that coach? And everybody always had the utmost respect and a great thing to say about him. So, full circle come back around. I just knew the transition would be over easy by the time, I even got to sit and talk to him.
DeMar, you came into the league as a young guy at a USC, and you had so many great years with the Raptors, went to the conference finals, had a great partnership there with Kyle Lowry, and became, one of the most popular players in that franchise's history. And then, you got traded to San Antonio, and I think people kind of forgot about you. Did you get the sense that people, you were still an elite player in your prime, and people were thinking, well, whatever happened to DeMar DeRozan? He kind of disappeared, and now you're back in Chicago. All of a sudden, people seem to be surprised when you've been doing it all along.
Yeah, you look at it from, everything that went on. Obviously, I was in a place in Toronto where I thought I was going to be forever. How things transpired there, winning a championship without me there, kind of like clouded so much stuff from the normal person eye. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure anybody that's in depth that just pays attention and understand, basketball on a whole different level would definitely see and understand that, I kind of, evolved when I went to San Antonio, but, from the naked eye, people look at it like, oh, he left, they won a championship, blah, blah, blah. Whatever narrative you could put around it, it was easy to indulge in that instead of seeing what was going on in real time. So for me, it was an opportunity for me to be challenged as a basketball player, learn so much more underneath one of the greatest coaches of all time. And every moment I shared there was one I would never forget, because it put me in a place where I needed to evolve as a basketball player, and Pop did everything and every little bit for me while I was there. And, I got to give him so much credit for even putting me in a position that he put me in to help me grow.
Like, I tell people all the time, playing with MJ, MJ seemed like he had a pulse for what anybody said about him. Like, great players know what people are saying. If someone's talking bad about them, either their inner circle will tell them, give that message. And I felt like, you're playing this season with a chip on your shoulder because of what everyone said. And I know, deep down, you're like, I got to do what I do. This is what I've been doing. But as a player, listening to people say, oh, it's the worst signing in the history, blah, 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 blah. That had to sting a little bit to now you're looking at it like, I can't believe y'all did not know this is who I was, because, right. And I think, and to hit on your earlier point is when you left Toronto and you could have said, hey, I want to go play for a bigger market. I could have wanted to go to Los Angeles. All the big stars who played in Toronto wanted to leave. You were just the opposite. You were willing to stay there for your whole career. You were, on and off the court, you were big. And to get traded right when you're at the cusp of winning it, I think people said, well, the reason why they didn't win was because DeMar. That wasn't the reason why they didn't win. It's more than just one individual. So I know probably coming in, this is a situation where you probably wanted to say, hey, let me show you who I really am. I'm on a team that was barely winning last year, and now I'm part of something special.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what it come in. A lot of that been going on over the years. For me, you have to have patience because you wanted to jump out there and be vocal about certain stuff. But for me, it was just like, all right, I'm gonna learn whatever I need to learn. I'm gonna continue to work my ass off and evolve as a player. And in due time, whenever the masses of people who feel like they not seeing me, they'll get a chance to see me and understand, what's been going on and how it never stopped, and I think that's just what a position where I am now. It's crazy. I don't think I never said this other than like my close circle, after I got traded, for a long time, you fight, you go through so much to try to figure out why something happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I think I'm at that point now. It's like, I got traded for this moment, you know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of how I look at it. Like you kind of got to climb to the mountaintop and get your hands stepped on and fall down and figure out how to get back up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that it just showed me how to be more resilient and just keep pushing and keep fighting. And I think that's just where I'm at now.
Well, speaking of the mountaintop, the Bulls have already climbed to the top of the Eastern Conference, which is probably ahead of schedule in most people's eyes. Some people thought it might be a little bit of a growing curve as you guys develop team chemistry, but it's happened much quicker than anyone could have expected. We're hit close to the halfway point of the season now. How much better can this team get as we approach playoff time?
Man, so much better, and that's the crazy thing because, like I said, I'd be lying to you to tell you that I felt we'd get it this quick, and where we at now, dealing with we was one of the first team to get hit with COVID.
Yeah.
We lose one of our, young stars, Patrick Williams, early in the season. We have guys out hurt. We dealt with so much up and down health wise, and we still at where we at now. I just can't wait till we have all our guys to go out there, do what we know what we could do, what we worked on, what we, made the commitment to first day of training camp with all the guys. So for me, we got a long way to go, for us these last couple of weeks, not having our two best defensive players, and still be able to manage and pull these games out, speaks volumes to the team that we are. And once we get those guys back, we got a lot more to prove.
Now, it's well documented, your relationship that you had with Kobe Bryant, the late, great Kobe Bryant. And I've always said since I've seen you play, like you about the closest thing I've seen to what Kobe did on the court. Because, back in the day, it's like, who's the next Michael? Oh, he's got Michael's move. They were saying that about Kobe. And Kobe did emulate MJ. And it looks like in your game, you have some of Kobe in your game. I mean, even in the broadcast, I'll yell when you hit a fadeaway. I'll yell, Kobe, because I know deep down in your head, you might be saying the same thing, Kobe. So I say it for you. So tell us the impact that Kobe's had on your life and what it meant to you to have that relationship with the late, great Kobe.
Before I even had a relationship with him personally, Kobe was, my consistent imagination. I was young and I'm old enough to remember Jordan, but I remember Kobe first rookie game, and I remember watching every single game. So me being from LA and kind of the only game we could watch not having cable was the Lakers. So my whole imagination started with Kobe. Everything I seen him do, from fadeaways to, I remember I used to always want an afro when I was a kid and push it back. Like Kobe. So, he was my imagination in the fadeaways and in the dunks and everything. So it started there because I started emulating everything I seen him do as a kid, and by the time I was 15, 16, to have a personal relationship with him, and that to grow and to personally be taught by him and get an understanding from him how the game should be played, the work ethic, everything that comes with it. it's like a dream come true, and I think that's why you see so much in my game, because my foundation, everything was built off him.
Speaking of, mannerisms and things that you pick up from other guys, I might be reading this wrong, but when you come back on the court after a timeout, are you kissing both wrists, or am I seeing that wrong? Is there some meaning behind that?
Yeah, I kissed my daughter's name.
Oh,
okay.
I was wondering about it. I knew there had to be a story there.
Nobody never asked me that. Yeah.
Really? No one's ever asked you that?
Yeah, I kissed my mom's name and my daughter's name.
Well, it means a lot more now.
Yes, it does.
Because I thought maybe you were saying, okay, left wrist, you got to help me because right wrist isn't doing the job.
No, that's crazy. Nobody never asked me that. Yeah, I kissed my mom's name and my kid's name.
That's great.
Awesome.
That's cool.
See, we found something. Give me the hot sauce. Always digging something up over here. Yeah, it's awesome. And you know what? We were talking about this the other day when you were out there. Now he's an 88% season free throw shooter. Doesn't miss free throws. 1-2 back-to-back games, game-winning shots. And so he goes 7-13 against Orlando. We have his kids on, on the camera, and they're mimicking his shot, and then he'd hit it. And then when he missed it, they didn't know how to, mimic the miss. They just kind of put their hands down. But after the game, when everybody left,
they're tearing up the floor.
They're tearing up the floor because we had a hockey game. And I was still there. Chuck Swirsky was still there. There's probably about, 10 people there. And he came back outside to shoot free throws. I think you shot over 200 free throws, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And this is a guy, like I said, when people don't see behind the scenes and, the athletes don't care, this is a guy who showed leadership. Says, hey, look, you know what? I missed some free throws. I'm going to come out there and work on them because I missed some in the last couple of games, and I'm going to get better. And I hope every young player in that locker room is watching that learns something from not only DeMar, but Vooch and Zach, how these guys carry themselves, because that's the only way you learn and grow as a player. Am I right?
Yeah, most definitely. And to this day, I still do it with young guys. If I see young guys doing something, I find motivation in that. Like I'm always like I'm the type of guy that no matter what your occupation is, I pay attention. Yeah. And I find whatever motivation I can in that. Sometimes I don't care if you the garbage man. Like, you up early in the morning, that takes discipline to get up.
Yes.
Early in the morning to do your job, and I appreciate that. You know what I mean? And like, who am I to be sitting on my ass all day while I can't get up to go do whatever it is I need to do? And that's just always been my mentality.
Hey, DeMar, you've got a record that will never be broken. You hit back-to-back game-winning shots in separate years. You did it on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. I think that's going to hold up forever, my friend. How cool was that? I mean, did not do it just once, but twice.
Listen, when the second one happened, I didn't know how to celebrate because I was like, I still was processing like, yo, this is crazy. I just hit a game winner last night. Like, it's one of those moments of like, when you're a kid, that's like you dream of just hitting a game winning shot. To do it back-to-back nights, like you can't make that up. You just can't make it up. And just for my teammates to share that moment with my teammates, that's the beauty of it, man. That's stuff like 20, 30 years from now, you look back on and, you enjoy those moments with teammates. And that's the cool part about it. Just the camaraderie that it brings, the excitement that it brings within your teammates. Outside of just making a shot, man. It's awesome.
Talk a little bit and tell our listeners about your relationship where you grew up in Compton. We know how proud you are about where you come from and your roots, and occasionally in the broadcast you'll hear me say, I don't know if you ever hear me say it.
Yeah. You got everybody back home, like that's their favorite thing, man.
Yeah, because you know what? I know, because before you even came, I know all about you. I know that, where you're from, and you constantly rep where you're from. You want everyone to know where you're from, and you're proudly representing, your community. So I just said, hey, look, man, I hope you don't get mad, but I'm gonna holler that out when you do something special.
Yeah, I think it's dope, man. I think, I hold where I grew up very dear to me, because I wouldn't be the man who I am today, and I know how much greatness is within the city that I'm from. And I've seen many people that didn't have the opportunity to make it out, and that's why I always rep my city so much and try to be that motivational factor of where kids could look at and say, he did it, I could do it. I want to do it even better, and I think that's why I hold it so dear to me, because it's just, I want somebody to be bigger and better than me next. And if I could be that motivational factor or just that belief, like I do it as much as I can, you know, and I just know how tough I know how tough for 19 years it took me to get out of there, how hard it was. So for me, it's dear to me. So I appreciate it when you do it.
Okay, good. I didn't want to upset you, but I thought it was. I thought, you know, you need to rep. I know how much he loves this city, so I'm gonna shout it out when I can, and you know, so I'm glad you like it. So I'm gonna keep doing it. Compton's in the house. Yeah.
Hey, sticking in the Los Angeles area, there's been a lot written and said about the possibility that you could have gone to the Lakers during the summer. Was that as close as what people have talked about, or are people blowing that up to more of a story than it was?
No, it was pretty close. It definitely was pretty close, man. It was one of those things. I think I looked at it from a lot of angles. You know, me just having another opportunity to go home and play, being older to play. Who wouldn't want to play home? The convenience of being home, kind of just everything about being home. You know, I felt like it was a great opportunity, and kind of like, you know, really one of the last times the opportunity could present itself. So I took it serious and tried to figure out how to get home. But, you know, things just didn't work out, didn't pan out how it should have. And, you know, I just made my next best decision.
Talk a little bit about the way you go about your game, because in this day and age, and this is about a 3-point league. Yeah. Everybody wants to shoot the three, and it's so great and refreshing to see you every single night. You know what your strengths are, and you gonna play to your strengths. It doesn't matter who's guarding you or what team you're playing. You're gonna get to your spots on the floor, and you have now, in my opinion, have shown the analysts, all the people on the side, the analytics guys, that, hey, you know, maybe shooting all these threes is not conducive to winning, as if just getting a guy who shoots a high percentage at the spots that he wants. The mid-range game has been non-existent except for guys like you, KD, Chris Paul, and Kawhi Leonard. You guys are the four best, in my opinion, of watching all you guys play, the best mid-range game shooters and high percentage shooters. So it's so refreshing to see you dominate at that level with the mid-range game. You'll take some threes, but you know, like, where your bread and butter is, and it's awesome that you haven't changed your game in that aspect.
Yeah, for sure. It's one thing. I never told anybody this either. One thing, a conversation I remember I had with Cole was, he always told me, stay true to yourself and master whatever it is you want to be true to yourself with. And I used to always, when Cole used to tell me stuff, I used to scratch my head like, man, what the hell is you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what the hell is you talking about? You know what I mean?
Did he hit you? Did he hit you with, you're welcome?
Basically, but that's how he was in conversations. I'd not question him about what do you mean. Like, so I remember him telling me that. I think it was like, you know, the next year they start really pushing that analytic thing and 3-point shooting and everything, and that just stuck in my head, that conversation he had, and I was just like, yo, you got to stop me from doing what I'm doing now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I looked at it like, well, I'm a keep mastering this the best of my abilities. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm not gonna let nothing or nobody push me to do something else that I don't feel like I need to do. And I just stuck with it, honestly. You know what I mean? I just stuck with it. I stuck with it to, when, you know, I look at it now. Like you said, you see guys who dominated now. I watched KD play last night, and his first few shots was right into the money. It was mid-range shots, you know, and I talk to Chris Paul all the time. I work out with him, and you know, I always tell a lot of the older guys that game that I respect, you know, how much I appreciate them, because, you know, I find motivation in them as well.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the game. I grew up loving 70s and 80s and 90s basketball. Like, my dad, we had the cassette, we had the VHS, all that. And I used to watch where it wasn't no color. And I used to watch how a lot of these guys got buckets doing the easiest moves, getting to their spots over and over, and couldn't stop it. One of the favorite players, I've said it before, was Alex English.
Yes.
That would just get to his spot and score. And he was one of the all-time greatest scorers ever. But, you know, he's not mentioned because what? It wasn't 3-point line?
Yeah,
right. You couldn't stop him. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's great, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, his game is '90s. If you think about it, you look at some of the '90s games. Look at Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan wasn't a 3-point shooter. He became an outside shooter as his game evolved at the end when he didn't have the same athleticism as he had when he first came in. Of course, you got to change your game.
Yeah.
Kobe the same way. Kobe came in as an 18-year-old, was just super freakish athletic, and as his game evolved, he recognized, like, wait a minute, I got to exert a lot of energy. Now I can go into the post. I can get that little, 12 to 15 foot turnaround jumper. Did he shoot threes? Yeah. But he stayed true to who he was as far as where he's going to get to his spots. And you couldn't do anything about it. And you see the same thing with DeMar.
Yeah, DeMar, I was going to ask you, one of the first guys you mentioned in terms of being interested in the Bulls was Zach LaVine. And Zach had to carry this offense on his shoulders for the last several years. We'd go into the locker room after games. You could see Zach was just exhausted trying to carry a team that didn't have the components that they needed to win. How has your relationship with Zach grown throughout the course of the year, and what have you seen in him? I mean, he always tells us in the media that the only thing that matters is winning. I don't care about points. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just want to win. Have you seen growth in his game in the short time you guys have been together?
Sure, for sure. That was one of our first conversations we had was like, we gonna win. And I told him I dealt with a lot of stuff, he dealt with, being the scorer, having to do so much, this, that. Like, I told him, like, I remember my first 5 years, I didn't make the playoffs, and seeing all my peers make the playoffs made me sick. Like, I was sick to my stomach. Like, I want to go to the playoffs. And I was telling him, nothing matters and everything comes with winning, and you got to be serious about it. And I could tell in the look and in the conversation we had, he was serious about it. That's all he cared about. And obviously playing with the USA team definitely heightens that even more, being around great talent and understanding you're a great talent for a reason. And I think that played a big reason in my decision on coming too, was to, share that with him, whether he knew it or not. It was something that, I watched. I watch more basketball games than anybody, and to see what he had been doing over the years and losing, it wasn't fair to his talent, and I was willing to be a part of that and help that. And, he took it serious from day one, and every scenario, everything we go through, whether it's on the court, off the court, you see what type of person he is, and that's my man. I'm riding with him, right or wrong.
When you look at this team, and you knew Zach how he played, and you knew Vooch how he played. You played with him. You guys play together at USC, right? For a year?
We was freshmen.
Yeah. So which player of the new guys has surprised you? Like a guy you said, I knew he was good, but I didn't really know he did these types of things. Because the guy for me is, I know I've always been a big Zoe fan. Because I didn't know he was such a great defensive player like he is. And then Caruso. If you would have asked me anything about Alex Caruso, I'd have said he's an athlete. He can get up and down the floor. But I didn't know those two guys were so tenacious defensively, and they're big. I consider them, I heard you say this, they talk about the big two, you and Zach, and you was like, nah, we got four. We got four. There's a big four. You got Vooch and you got Zoe, and then you can also throw Alex Caruso and what he means to the team too. So give us a little insight about those two guys.
It's crazy. Like, obviously with Zoe, I've watched Zoe since he was in high school, being, from the LA area. So everything about Zoe I knew, watching him through college, coming in league, I was always a friend. But like you said, when it come to Alex Caruso, that man is a dog in every facet, and his knowledge of the game is so on point. I tell him every day, like, he's gonna be a head coach or something. Like, he's gonna be around this league a lot longer after he finished playing, because his knowledge of the game is on a different level. One of the smartest guys I played with was Kyle Lowry. I gotta put Alex Caruso up there too when it comes with the knowledge of the game, man. And everything he does physically on the court it's incredible. It's been times I looked at the stat sheet and I look up, he got 4 or 5 steals, 6 steals. It's been times on the court, I hear him say, nah, I got him. He ain't about to score. And he go do some amazing stuff defensively, and it's like, oh my God, like you got it, like you know what I mean, like it's amazing. Like I wouldn't, even me being from LA, like I wouldn't have known AC is how and who he is on the court like he is. It's crazy.
We talked about the great team chemistry, and these guys bond together off the court as well. We got to let DeMar go because he's heading down to Champaign, Illinois, where Ayo Dosunmu is getting his number 11 jersey retired. He had such a great career with the Fighting Illini, and they were a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament last year. The young guy has really turned a lot of heads this year as a second-round draft pick, hasn't he, DeMar?
Man, yeah, man. He's such a tough kid. Like, as soon as he step out there on the court, like his whole demeanor, you wouldn't think he was a rookie. Like, it's just his approach, the way he worked, his toughness, like it speaks nothing but Chicago to me. You could tell he's a Chicago kid. Like I love talk, and he's so inquisitive with everything. He asks me questions about basketball stuff all day. And it's like, damn, like, you know what I mean? Like, take a break for a second, but he that's him, you know what I mean? And, I think for me, like, just, I know how important it is to have, support. I was able to get my jersey retired in college, and, for me, just go there and support them. I just want to see it. I just want to be in a presence because, them young guys motivate me just as much as I motivate them, so just being there and support my teammates, that's the cool thing about it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We're so happy to have you on because
fantastic.
I enjoy watching you play. I enjoy the way you carry yourself. I enjoy the way this team is playing because I actually, I see things behind the scenes that everyone else doesn't see, And the one thing I do tell people is that they genuinely like each other. And, when we had our championship team, we all genuinely liked each other. We hung out together. We did things together. We played cards on the plane. And you guys, there is a genuine like, which is really refreshing because it hadn't always been like that before you came. There's always like cliques. These guys do certain things, boom, boom. But you guys genuinely really enjoy playing with one another, and it's a joy watching you play.
Man, I appreciate it, man. It's a joy. It's a joy, being around y'all as well because, like, trust me, it's you could tell when the environment is a great environment because everything becomes contagious. You know what I mean? Just crossing paths through just the whole workplace. You could just feel it. You know what I mean? And that's I truly believe that's what makes a great team when you have that type of environment and everything, and it shows.
Well, DeMar, thank you so much for joining us. Safe travels to Champaign tonight. Stay healthy, and Happy New Year to you and your family. And we look forward to watching you have continued success on the court the rest of the way.
Man, I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Compton's finest.
DeMar DeRozan, our special guest on episode 60 of Gimme the Hot Sauce. Thanks again. Wow, it was so much fun talking to DeMar DeRozan. We want to shout out our guy Sean Hickenbottom for helping us facilitate that interview.
Sean is a guy behind the scenes that makes it happen.
Yeah.
He's got such a great rapport with all the players. We got Joakim Noah through Sean, and he's a friend of the program. So special shout out to Sean Hickenbottom, a.k.a.
He is the man.
Chief Little Legs. And he knows what that means. Chief Little Legs. Yeah, that's my nickname to him. Also, a.k.a. Steven. He knows what that is, too. But great guy. He's been working for the Bulls for a while now, and he's not just a personal friend. He's family to me. He's like my little brother.
And we got some other special guests in the works for coming up in future weeks. Not going to drop any names just yet, but make sure that you check out Gimme the Hot Sauce every week because we've got a bunch of A-list guests we're working on coming up. Yeah. You want to talk about the hot sauce?
Yeah.
I know people have been loving it because they got a bottle for the holidays.
Yes.
And now they want to reorder because it's so darn good.
Well, we tried to tell America that this hot sauce was very tasty and delicious, all 3 flavors, and now they're believing us. So
everybody's reordering.
Special shout out to everybody who has purchased any number of my hot sauce. Thank you. You guys are you're very much appreciated, and you're really helping our brand grow. And we send a special shout out. So as I read my little commercial right now. It sounds like an appropriate time to read.
It's like doing a game. There's sliding to read across the table. Here we go, Stacey. Make sure you sell it.
Okay, here we go, Mark.
All right.
If you like hot sauce and barbecue sauce, then you are listening to the right show. Gimme the Hot Sauce has the best small batch organic sauces to spice up your kitchen. Chicago-style red sauce with garlic twist, our St. Pat's Verde Green sauce with extra avocado and cilantro, which is my personal favorite, America, and our King's Q, a bold, spicy, and sweet sauce, just like me.
And she'll like it too.
Use code HOTSAUCE21 to get 21% off your first order. That's HOTSAUCE21 for 21% off. Order today and enjoy the holidays.
Absolutely. You can't resist that kind of pitch. That's some fantastic stuff. Well, we've been talking. Pavel, DJ Pavel.
Pavel over there.
He's getting more comfortable with the board.
Real comfortable. He act like this was a 1-800 number. Oh, my goodness.
Couple NBA things we have not gotten to. One, the return of Kyrie Irving. There was some talk that, it might disrupt the team, but Kevin Durant's like, this guy's an artist out on the court. He is a fantastic player. Now, only playing the road games, we'll see how that works long term, but his talent is undeniable.
No, his talent is undeniable, but it still puts Brooklyn in a tough situation. I mean, even though he's playing the road games, when the playoffs start, and I was talking about this on Zach Lowe's show, it's like, you're only going to have him half the time. And if you're on the road and you're in a situation where you find yourself down 2 games and then you've got to go back to Brooklyn without him, there's a chance you may not come out of that series if you're playing in Milwaukee, you're playing the Bulls, or you're playing, a very good team. If you got a 2-0 lead with him and you're able to get those 2 first wins on the road, great. But it's too big of a gamble. You just kind of wish that, he'd find some way to say, hey, look, you know what? I'm going to go get this shot because I want to be there for my teammates. We got a chance to win a championship, come out of the Eastern Conference and win an NBA championship. And these opportunities, as he knows, is not guaranteed. You're not guaranteed to win anything. You're not guaranteed to get back here, next year. This might be your only chance. So, hopefully they work it out where he's able to, get in and get himself vaccinated. He can play the rest of the season with his teammates.
I know you and I are both big fans of Ja Morant, who is rapidly emerging as one of the top players in the league. He went into Brooklyn, and he was a human wrecking ball. That dunk he had over our old buddy James Johnson. Get out the way, right?
Oh, man, get up or get out the way. I tell you what, he's playing at a different level. Coming back from that knee injury, you got to remember, Memphis was winning some games without him.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, maybe they don't need him. And don't think that player was not he wasn't sitting at home going, oh. Yeah. So you really think you don't need me, huh? Well, wait till I come back. And then he's exploded. He's much more aggressive offensively than he was his first few years because he was also a pass first, pass second point guard. But now he's on the attack mode, and he's attacking everybody. They won in Los Angeles. And he's much more animated now. Yeah. He's kind of talking a little trash here and there. I watched the Cleveland game the other night, and the little point guard Darius Garland, who's done a great job in Cleveland. It was so much fun watching those two guys go against each other because Darius Garland had a good game too. But at the end,
Ja hits the last few shots. He pushed him out of the way.
Yeah, get off me. You're not on my level, and pushed him out the way and then laid the ball up. Yeah. He hit some tough shots in that game, and you can just see superstardom written all over him. Even in the beginning of his career, you saw it. But I think people just looked at him as more just like, an exciting dunking type player. But now he's worked on a 3-point shot. He's worked on, being able to get in mid-range game, post up a little bit. So his game has evolved.
Yeah, it's been fun watching him play, and that Memphis team now, top 4 in the West, and with a lot of Western teams struggling. Denver's had a lot of injuries and COVID problems. Portland has dropped way back. The Lakers are struggling. Memphis could have home court advantage in the first round.
Well, I mean, they've been coming along. It's been a steady growth for Memphis. So they got a shot last year in the playoffs. So they've got a taste of it. So they understand what it takes to get to that level. And then when you have your young stars, Jaren Jackson, and then you got
your guy Bane, Desmond Bane.
Yeah. You've only adopted the dark. I was born in it. So they've got some really good young talent. And this is a team now, you throw Dylan Brooks out there who brings toughness. They got a team now that actually believes that they can go deep into the playoffs. And that's a scary, scary sight for a young team like that who fears nothing at all. and they feel like they belong. I still don't think they have enough to beat Golden State. I don't think they have enough to beat Phoenix, but it'll be an interesting series.
Yeah, before we get out of here, we're going to talk a little football. Woo. I don't know if you saw this. We were taping on Thursday afternoon, and as I was getting ready to head out of the house, I saw poor Justin Fields. He's in the health and safety protocols, which means his season is over. They were hoping he could get one last game indoors at Minneapolis where he could show the things that he can do. And now he goes into the offseason with a whole bunch of questions and probably a new coaching staff to get used to for next season.
Well, I mean, you don't want to see anybody go into health protocol, but it probably saved him. Seriously, it probably saved him from any kind of injury in that last game. He's been taking a beating, as a starter. And, it's just one of those things, Mark, that, you got to go into the offseason evaluating, what's important. It starts there. You're going to bring the coach back. You're going to bring the general manager back. People are trying to call me, Mark.
You're a popular guy.
Popular guy. Yeah, we got to block those people. So, it's one of those things. Like, what is this team going to look like in the front office next year? Are you going to go out and spend money and get some offensive line?
Yeah, the offensive line's got to get better.
You just got to. You got to. And if their line comes back and they don't improve, you're not going to get any better. You got to be able to run the ball. You got to be able to protect this kid. He's got to be able to run. The Bears got to be able to run the ball on first or second down and not always just slinging it around.
Mm-hmm. But Robert Quinn knocking the Colonel, Richard Dent, out of the record books for sacks in a season. He's had quite a year for them.
You know what? He's been one of the bright spots.
Yeah.
Their defense, give them credit. Their defense has done about as best as you could do. They kept him in a lot of games this year. It's been the one bright spot other than Fields when he's gotten the opportunity to play. Their defense has been the one constant of this team. And, so when you go into the offseason now, you say, where do we get better defensively? Like, without having to, disrupt what we already have, who we can bring it back, the linebacker crew, I like Roquan. He's been on my fantasy defensive team for a couple of years now. I've won a lot of championships.
Yeah, he's outstanding.
Guy. The guy is a tackling machine, so you're set there. But the biggest concern is offense, because you got to get an offensive team to keep your defense off the field.
Right.
If this defense is on the field, as soon as they come off, they're running right back out there. What do you expect? They're not going to be able to stop good teams every single time they come on the field. But if you give them some rest and they're able to come out fresh, it's a different story.
And design an offensive system like the Baltimore Ravens did around Lamar Jackson. You got a guy like Justin Fields who runs a 4.40. He's a real weapon as a runner. Get some rollout, some bootlegs, and do some things that take advantage of his unique talent.
Mark, I never thought they had a package for him.
No, they didn't.
I never thought they were even prepared to put him out there. They should have, from the very get-go, once they drafted him, they should have been designing plays just for him, because when Andy Dalton went down, he was running Andy Dalton plays.
Almost got killed.
And almost got killed running Andy Dalton plays. And they never really adjusted to this kid's talent. So that's whoever comes in here, whether you get a whole new front office and new coaching staff, you're going to have to look at this kid and you're going to say, hey, look, we've got to put this kid in the best situation possible for him to utilize his skill set. This step back, drop back passing, 3-5 step drop, that might work a little bit, but that's not his style of play. You got to get him outside the pocket, especially when you don't have a good offensive line and the pressure's coming up the middle and they're blitzing all the time, basically sending everybody after him. You got to get him on the move. He's got to be able to throw on the run, which he's proven he's very accurate throwing the ball on the run. You look at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the best offensive line, but what makes Green Bay so good is their skill players are there. They got a good running back, good receivers, and Aaron Rodgers is one of the best at improvising a play. He moves around in that pocket. He keeps the play alive. He allows his players to get open with his movement, and I could see Fields being that type of guy.
I know you were watching the Antonio Brown situation with interest. It kind of looked like Dennis Rodman throwing his jersey into the crowd and walking off.
Hey, Mark, I was just hoping he didn't get naked. Just run out there in a jock. The funny thing, the other night when we were playing Orlando, I don't know if you saw this, but Benny the Bull.
Oh, I did see that.
Okay, so I've never in my life seen Benny the Bull without his Chicago Bulls uniform on unless he's got something for a holiday, Santa suit or whatever. But I've never seen him like naked. And it was a little disturbing. So I'm not really paying attention. And so all of a sudden I see Benny run out and just nothing on. Yeah. And then his little handler had his jersey. So the whole premise was the Bulls are streaking and so is Benny. Yeah. And I had to admit, man, I was caught off guard. It was a little disturbing seeing Benny the Bull run around with no clothes. I mean, he was dancing. He was putting his butt up against the officials. I mean, he's just running around streaking. And I was like, oh, my God. That was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. But it was funny, but it kind of caught me off guard. I was like, oh, my God, man, put your clothes back on, Benny. There's children here. But, it was a funny little thing that he did. It was pretty cute.
Well, Bruce Arians said immediately after the game that Antonio Brown is no longer a Buck, but they didn't cut him until today, Thursday. They put him on waivers. Brown said that it was just a cover-up because he was hurt. He's got bone spurs in his ankle. He's got tendon damage. He needs surgery. There could be a lawsuit in the offing. I don't know what's going to be the result of this, but do you think he's finished as an NFL player?
Mark, I mean, honestly, you got to figure he's done.
Yeah.
I mean, he had problems in Pittsburgh. He had problems in Oakland. Now it's Las Vegas. And now, he had problems. Where was the last place he was in New England?
One game
he was gone. And then now in Tampa Bay. Yeah. This and I like AB. I'm not a doctor, so I don't really know. I'm not well versed on CTE, but I think I've honestly said this about him. He is never the same after that hit from the Cincinnati linebacker, Vontaze Burfict. Yeah. He was never the same. The way he came back from that injury, I mean, that was a devastating hit, and he was out for a while with a concussion. I just don't think he was ever fully the same after that because his behavior has just escalated everywhere he's been. It's gotten worse. I mean, to see him, it's one thing to be mad and say, okay, look, I'm just not going in. I'm just going to sit on the bench. I'm not going in. I'm going to stay in my uniform. But to see him get so irate and teammates, Michael Evans trying to stop him, everybody's trying to stop him, and what Tom Brady had did for you to get you even in the league, because without Tom Brady, you may not even see Antonio Brown even in the league. Tom Brady, really, put an olive branch out there with Tampa Bay, said, we got to have this guy. This guy is important to us.
Yeah, it's only a good team with strong veteran leadership that can take in a guy like that. That's what the Bulls did with Rodman, because they knew that MJ could make sure he didn't go off.
But Mark, I don't even think that's going to work anymore, because if you can't get along with Tom Brady let you live in his house. Yeah. He took you in and let you live in his house. He got convinced Bruce Arians in the front office to give you a shot. So I don't even think that personality, those guys, I think it's the fact that he's so far gone and what he believes is, because it's always someone else's fault. Like I said, you could be mad, Mark, don't quit on your team. You could be mad and say, Coach, I'm not going in. My ankle hurts. I can't play. Now, if you get mad at that, sit on the bench. Don't say anything. Don't pout. Don't just sit on the bench. But to take your clothes off, run around, waving at the crowd, jumping around, drawing more attention to yourself, that was an attention-seeking situation that he was doing. Because who in their right mind, Mark? I mean, we've all, as professional athletes, we've all not liked something the coach has said to us. We've all gotten into arguments with an assistant coach on the bench. But we all have self-restraint. Like, I'm mad at you. I'm going to sit over here. I'm going to be brewing and stewing. I'm mad at you. But I'm not going to do anything that's going to embarrass myself. I'm not going to do anything that's going to embarrass my family. And I'm not going to do anything that's going to embarrass the organization that pays me. So what he did was an embarrassment, first of all, to himself as an athlete. It was an embarrassment to his family. Regardless of what he thought or perceived the situation was, he handled it the wrong way. He quit on his team, basically walked off the field, and drew more attention to himself by jumping up and down, throwing things in the stands, waving at the crowd. He knew exactly what he was doing when he did it.
I don't think he was too embarrassed, because the very next night he stayed in the New York area. He was sitting front row at the Nets game at Barclays.
Well, I mean, that's a guy obviously who doesn't care, then you also look at this, what did he do to his legacy? Is he a Hall of Famer? Those kind of things. Maybe he doesn't care about that. Maybe he doesn't care if he's a Hall of Fame wide receiver, because the numbers that he has been putting up, over the last, 7-8 years, says he's a Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. But his actions and the way he's been off the field and the way he's done in organizations, and then seeing what he just did, man, that might have hurt his chance to get that gold jacket.
Last thing before we get out of here, the national championship game coming up on Monday. It's an SEC rematch, Alabama, Georgia. Who you got?
Roll Tide.
Yeah.
Roll Tide. I just think that they just got too much firepower, and I think they're in Georgia's head. Because the way the Georgia lost to Alabama in that
ugly.
first game, and everybody said, that
great defense.
The great defense, they're going to shut Alabama down, blah, blah, blah. And then they got shredded.
Mm-hmm.
That's only got to sit in your mind. It's like you fought somebody and they beat the living crap out of you, and then you got to fight that guy again, 6 months later, and you're like, do I really have a chance to win? I remember what he did to me last time. So there's got to be some self-doubt. I think the key for Georgia is to get out there when they have the ball, move the ball. Don't let Alabama's defense dictate. Get out there and score easily. Your first couple of possessions, be productive. Get your defense confidence, get yourself some confidence, and then maybe they can overcome that. But if they get out there and get stymied on their first two possessions, Alabama scores, then you can just see the doubt, like we can't beat them.
I'll be curious to see what the ratings are going to be like, because I know there's a large segment of the country that's tired of the SEC. I know your Sooners are going to the SEC, but it's almost like people are tired of it. Nick Saban's won so many championships, and they're like, give me somebody else.
Well, listen, Mark, that's with anybody. Everybody gets tired of seeing teams win, but at the same time, there's a marketplace for that because people want to see good teams play and greatness. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're talking good about the team or bad about the team. So they're going to be tuning in. And then also, Mark, we're dealing with a pandemic. We're dealing with things, man, where, you can't take life for granted. And you got an opportunity for a couple of hours to kind of separate yourself from what's going on in the real world and watch a sporting event, which we all want to see. That's. And
I think it's on 8 different channels too.
Yeah.
Every ESPN platform that existed, they got a different format to watch the national title game.
So I know I'm going to be watching. It's still my team's not playing.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be watching because it's a big thing. And,
but check your schedule because there's some makeup games that you're going to be working on.
Mark, there you go again. Once again, America, he rains on my parade. I'm all excited.
Got that makeup against the Pistons next week.
Because you know what? We always have a game, a national championship game.
I think you're good, though. I think
we are, too.
Yeah.
But we do got some makeup
Tuesday and
games.
Wednesday you play next week.
We got Washington tomorrow, which is going to be a tough game. They played us tough. Bradley Beal, and then we got Dallas, who just had a big win against Golden State last night. And then you turn around next week. That's Pistons, a huge week. You got Pistons,
Brooklyn.
You got Brooklyn on Wednesday night, and you got Golden State coming to town on Friday. So these are some good tests for the Bulls coming up in these next 2 weeks.
Hey, we want to thank DeMar DeRozan for jumping on. He was a fantastic guest, a fantastic interview, and as we mentioned, we got some other special things planned for the weeks ahead. We want to thank DJ Pavel, did a great job running the board.
Hit the guns, Pavel. Give me the guns, Pavel.
You got the guns?
Guns?
Yeah. Sure.
For you all.
Ow! I've been shot.
And you want to shout out Windy City Limo. They always take good care. Yeah.
Yes. This is a special shout out to Windy City.
Yeah.
They always take care. Matter of fact, they got me here safely today.
Yeah.
They get me wherever I need to go. So Windy City Limo provides championship service. Making a reservation is so easy, it's a slam dunk. Even whispers could do it. Let Windy City break the full court pressure of traffic and get you to your destination in style and on time. Contact Windy City at 866-94-WINDY. That is 866-94-WINDY.
And I know y'all missed Whispers. He'll be back next week unless he sold the business and shuts down the whole place.
Yeah, it shuts down the whole Sriracha Studios.
And Pavel's like, what about my paycheck?
Yeah, Pavel was like, hey, I never heard that. You guys, is that true? DJ Pavel.
We'll be back with a new show coming up next week. Thank you so much for listening and watching on YouTube. Gimme the Hot Sauce, episode 60's in the books. Pavel, take us home.
Drive home safely, Chicago. Beep, beep.
Preseason, but I'm Highfield Funk. Jimmy G. Buckets gets buckets.